So the talk tonight is about two topics. The first one is thought forms, and the second one is joy. So the thought form is an expression, a word that is described different way in different schools. So there will be the thought forms that we talk at the Aromansse Institute, that has also another name, so we will talk about that. And so to make sure that we are not too confused by the different meanings, so the first one will be thought form filters, and the second one will be thought form guidance. Thought form filters and some thought form guidance.
Filters, sorry. And the other one's guidance.
Guidance. So now we are going to listen thought form.
Around the turn of the 20th century, theosophists and clairvoyants wrote a small book about thought forms. In it, they described how thoughts filled up the space of the mental and astral subtle bodies, and how they were projected outward toward other people and things. They described thought as an elemental essence, which was that strange, half-intelligent life which surrounds us in all directions, vivifying the matter of the mental and astral planes. Every thought impulse we have is clothed in this matter and becomes for a time a kind of living creature. These thought forms are then called an elemental. The energy of these thought forms completely fills up the subtle body field that surrounds a person, so much so that everything the person perceives is seen through these energy vibrations. Besant states, each man travels through space enclosed within a cage of his own building, surrounded by a mass of the forms created by his habitual thoughts. Through this medium he looks out upon the world, and naturally he sees everything tinged with its predominant colors, and all rates of vibration which reach him from without are more or less modified by its rate. Thus, until the man learns complete control of thought and feeling, he sees nothing as it really is, since all his observations must be made through this medium, which distorts and colors everything like badly made glass.
So, to explain it, your thoughts are creating an resonant energy field around you, and that field, actually earlier in level 4 we called that thoughtines, if you remember, thoughts energy. That electromagnetic field of your thoughts that creating that balloon around you, that is like the cage that you are bringing with you everywhere, is like glasses, tinted glasses, and you are not looking at the world with its true colors, but it's tinted by your own glasses. Exactly like a picture, you can have like a when you take a picture, you can put some filters, and so it will make the reality look different. Well, it's the same thing that you do. So this is constant, it's around you, and you are constantly in that thought form filters. So it's not good because you are not perceiving the world for what it is. So, like if you are negative and you have a negative thought form around you, no matter what is happening in front of you, you will always see the negative of it. I'm sure you know some people like that. And at the opposite, you probably know some people where they have some constant happiness, and so no matter what happens to them, they see always the positive of everything. So this is the thought form. The thought form do not stay constantly. They are often moving. They move every 2 to 3 days. But because we have tendency to loop constantly into the same type of thought, you create the same thoughts constantly, you create the same thought form constantly around you. So now we are going to talk about the next one, that is thought form guidance.
Rote, R-O-T-E, a term created by Robert Monroe that means thought balls. R-O-T-E stands for related organized thought energy, which is transferred from one soul to another.
So R-O-T-E, related organized thought energy. So this is thought form guidance. Thought form guidance come from anywhere 12 to 49 in the focus levels. It's from outside you. So now I'm going to explain how things work. So we want to explain the difference between the thought form guidance, the ego, and the intuition. There will be another source that I will talk about, and of course you. So the best way to explain is to imagine, so you, the soul, you incarnate it into a body, and so your life, your thoughts are like being around a square table. So there is 4 sides. So one side, I'm sitting here, the soul, I'm the boss. On my left hemisphere, so the left side of the table, you have the ego. Ego, that is the memory. Ego is not bad, ego is good. Lots of spiritual teachers until recently were saying you need to kill ego. And it's 18 months that you start to have like more an understanding of what is the ego. Ego is simply the memory of our experiences, and it's extremely important. It acts as a software to protect us, and then we'll come back to it. The next side of the table, in front of me, there is the intuition. So intuition is like felt in the gut, it's felt in the heart, in the throat, or the entire body. Then you have, on the right side of the table, the right brain, that is the thought form guidance. So really, it is like being at a board meeting. Your thoughts are like a board meeting. Now, a little bit more than 4,000 years ago, there was a problem because the boss, the ego, decided to marry the ego. The boss, the soul, the soul decided to marry the ego. So now, the 3 board members have different type of voice, that you can hear in your head. The ego is really loud. The intuition is quieter, and the thought form guidance is really quiet. So of course, for sure, the ego did win on the relationship, and so the boss decided to marry the ego, and so it's 4,000 years that we don't pay really attention anymore to the intuition or the thought form guidance. Now we want to change that, and so your homework will be about to recognize the 3 type of information that you can get. So it will be when you are going to have a thought that will pop up in your head, and you will have to ask yourself, the boss, the observer, from which party is it coming from? The ego, the intuition, or the thought form guidance? Another one that you will have to work on is when you create a thought. And I will give you an example. When you create a thought, you will want to involve the 3 team members. So when you create a thought, it's going to be easier. So let's say that you are going to ask yourself, you are creating a thought, what am I going to eat tonight? So you ask the ego, and the ego will say, well, so last night you had this, at breakfast you had that, at lunch you had that. Maybe we can change to this. Okay, thank you, ego, good information. Now you will ask your intuition. Okay, intuition, what body? What can you tell me? Oh, I am craving this. Okay, body, thank you for your information. Thought form guidance. What am I supposed to do? So, thought form guidance will say, from a higher perspective, I see maybe your aura or whatever it will say, you should eat this and that because it will do this and that to your body. Okay, thank you, thought form guidance. I, the boss, will have willpower, and I am deciding from the 3 information of the team member what to do. Until now, it's always the ego. I was always going with the ego information. The ego is not wrong, but is not right. The intuition is not right, but is not wrong. And the thought form guidance is not always right. It can be wrong. So when you have like a thought form or a question about your life, well, the ego can tell you, okay, well, in a similar situation, file number 5600, so you had that similar situation, you had a chemical reaction that created that emotion and that symptom in your body. Okay, thank you. Intuition, body, what are you thinking about the situation now? So the intuition has its own intelligence that can also feed and with the surrounding. So it will, the intuition say, okay, well, you should do this with that situation that I can perceive in the now. And so the thought form guidance will say, well, in that situation, from a higher perspective, you should act this way. Well, me as the soul boss, I will say, okay, well, okay, thought form guidance, it's great, but right now I don't feel I'm capable to do exactly what you think. Okay, so from what I receive from the intuition, ego, you are right, or ego, or you are wrong. The situation is a little bit different. And again, I will take a decision from the 3 type of information. So it's easier when you are creating a thought than when you are thinking all day long, okay? And the thoughts are coming extremely fast, 3 times the speed of the light. So you will need a reminder to become the observer of your thoughts to make sure that you can perceive the 3 voices instead of going and listening the only voice that is the loudest, that would be the ego. So you can create sticky note a little bit everywhere that says, okay, team member, or you write the 3: ego, intuition, thought form, guidance. And slowly, so you are going to be able to get to the habit of using this way of thinking. If the world was doing that and would have done that for a long time, we would be at a totally different point in our evolution. Right now, when we listen our ego, you need to remember that ego is in the past. So we are recreating constantly version of the past without really wanting to evolve. It's difficult. Evolution is difficult. It's easier sometimes to just react like we react in the past. But again, the situation is always a little bit different. When you are in the ego, you are not in the now. You are not taking the decision from the now. You are taking the decision from a moment in the past that is making you live a constant lie. You are not in the now. So, this is the first tool. And for the thought form filters, you have a tool. So you want to be neutral. So you don't want to be in the past with the ego, and you don't want to be in the loop of your thoughts energy field. So there is a lot of different tools. The tool that we did see this last while was the Tai Chi Qigong, with settling down the Qi, left over right, inhale, and when you exhale, mind, body, spirit, you just ground and flush. When you do that, you are flushing your electromagnetic field. You go back into a neutral position. You can do more than one time a day. And when you are in a place where you cannot do it physically, you can imagine yourself doing it. And we had some students reporting that they were doing it and it worked really well. You imagine that you are doing, and you can even do it now. Imagine that you are flushing, doing the Tai Chi Qigong. It has an instant impact into your electromagnetic field. So you will not have your glasses. You will not be in the past with just the ego. Now you are in the now, and you are going to be able to take decision, take your power back, and you will have the proper emotion response of the situation in the now. That will help you to evolve. Emotion were always meant to be lived in the now. You don't want to bring them in the next now. You have a situation, scary, you are scared, you move on to the next now, you go to work, another situation, you don't bring your fear into your work. You have some anger to your work, you go back home at night, you don't bring your anger. It's a new now. You want to stay in the now. You flush your emotion and your thoughts. You want to be constantly in the now. Now there will be some time where the emotions are a little bit more tricky, where you will be grieving or sad about a specific problem. Well, the problem that you have is in one now. The next now, you should not think about that problem. You should be fully 100% in the new now. Now, if the now before that need more attention later, you can decide, okay, in 3 hours from now, I'm going to go back to that old now and deal with my emotion. What just happened? Why I'm sad? Why I'm grieving? And then you do whatever you have to do. And if you feel that you are stuck in those emotions, don't go to the next now. Just stay in that old now and deal with it. Now there is no problem. There is only challenges. Becoming a lifelong explorer. Level 1. So you want to look at every problem as a challenge. You cut this little piece, the challenge or the problem in little pieces becomes positive. Your stress becomes a positive stress. And you can deal with the emotion, and you are not burying any problem or anything deep. You are just dealing with it at the right moment. You don't bring the wrong emotion to the wrong situation. So this is simple compared to what we are going. The second topic is joy. What is joy? So joy, until 2012, was an emotion located into the first, second, third, and fourth chakra. So the first chakra emotion are related to the security. The second chakra would be about sexuality and creativity. The third chakra would be about power. The fourth chakra would be about love and relationship. So, joy until 2012 was about, if I get security, let's say a job, a house, something that would maybe enhance my job or my house, inside my house, I would feel joy because it makes me feel good, and I have some dopamine, a dopamine release in the bloodstream. If I have sex or if I'm creative, so I have a dopamine effect that creates joy. If I feel that I'm in power, my own power, and slowly it was going into other power, I have a release of dopamine, I feel joy. If I am in my heart and I'm in a relationship, a loving relationship, I have some dopamine release and I feel joy. Now, at the beginning of the last century, the 20th century, everything started to speed up, and so we needed more and more and bigger for the same amount. We started to become addicted to our dopamine. Also, what was difficult before, difficult to get security, sexuality, power, relationship, became in the 20th century something more basic, a lot more simple. So it was not enough to give the amount of dopamine for us to feel true joy. So bigger was better. Even still today, the houses that are being built are huge. Bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Because people think that they will feel more joy, more dopamine. In the second chakra, sex, well, now you need to feel that you are like a porn star, to be able to have to have a feeling of great sex. You need to have power. You need to feel empowered. You need to be like a superhero to feel that the joy of power. Relationship, it's never your fault. There is always something going on. You want more and more, bigger, different. And so it was until 2012. So already the joy by 2012 or 11 was already didn't feel anymore like that great joy. Something was constantly missing. After 2012, joy moved into the 5th, 6th, and 7th chakra. So the lower chakra are related to emotions, and the 3rd higher chakra are related to state of consciousness. Joy became a state of consciousness and lost its title of emotion. Sadly, not many people understand or experienced it from a clear perspective. Joy is now a state of consciousness like you would use focus 10, focus 12, focus 15. You are not in 10, you are not in 12 all the time. You need to say, okay, 10, I'm going to 10, and then you feel that your body relaxes. You want to go to 12, it's a decision, it's an action that you are making. I'm going to focus 12, I'm going to expand. And you are creating an action for your energy field to expand in all directions. Focus 15. You are going to no time, no space. It's a choice where you can maybe manifest. You will see the same thing for joy. I'm going into the state of consciousness, joy. Joy. I am in joy. So joy became the new bliss. So joy and bliss is extremely the same, extremely similar now as a state of consciousness. Before, bliss was bliss and joy was an emotion. Now joy is not an emotion, it's a state of consciousness, and those two states of consciousness are extremely similar. So we are going to talk about bliss. So for that, we are going to read, to listen.
What is bliss? It's a hard question. That isn't because bliss is vague, inchoate, or unreal, but rather because it surpasses the capacity of language. Bliss is so vast, boundless, and immeasurable that it encompasses every possible word or definition ever invented, and then some. This is, of course, why we continue to stress that bliss must be personally experienced, not just discussed. Like so many aspects of life, bliss is not readily apparent to our senses. Because bliss is not an object or a thing, our faculties of sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell are not designed to detect it. Still, let's try. When most people think of joy, they think of everyday happiness. This is what we experience in our day-to-day reality. But bliss exists on an entirely different octave. My spiritual teacher, Paramhansa Yogananda, explained that bliss is a transcendental state of superior calm, including within itself the consciousness of a great expansion and that of all in one and one in all. When that sense of ego, of separation melts away, a feeling of total connectedness, of no sense of a me separate from all of creation descends, that is bliss consciousness. To break that down, bliss is an innate state of inner joy. It is constant, undisturbed by outward gain or loss. We all have the capacity for it, no matter our age, background, physical or mental disabilities, ethnicity, gender, or religion. External circumstances, whether positive or negative, happy or sad, do not affect it. It is a state of unity, transcendence, completeness, knowingness, wholeness, and uplifted consciousness. It is a feeling of oneness and connection with all of creation. Bliss is never boring. It feels ever new, expansive, and infinite. When bliss appears, one instantly recognizes it as the most central of all truths. Bliss is the eternal, forever unchanging reality which permeates the universe. Bliss is where happiness, meaning, and truth converge. Everything, and I do mean everything, boils down to our sometimes subconscious pursuit of bliss. We pursue money or relationships because we think they'll make us happy. We pursue our vocation, our hobbies, and our life's passions because we feel they are deeply meaningful to us. We explore science, religion, and philosophical inquiry because we want to know the truth of our existence. Bliss is the universal place that these intersect, where all questions are answered, where every fulfillment is attained. Bliss is like white light. Just as pure white light is the totality of all color, bliss is the conglomeration of all positive qualities. When seen through the prism of spiritual awareness, the subcomponents of bliss are joy, unconditional love, inner peace, power, connectedness, awe, and wisdom. Bliss cannot even be attained, really. The soul simply realizes that bliss simply is. It is what remains after everything external and fleeting disappears. Bliss is hard to describe in the same way that poetry is. Poetry bypasses our intellectual system and hits on it through imagery, rhythm, musicality, intuition, and direct feeling. So perhaps the best way to describe bliss is through a poem. In 1929, Paramhansa Yogananda wrote a poem called Samadhi that captures the experience of pure bliss. This poem is special because Yogananda wrote it while in a state of bliss. This isn't an after report or distant memory. It's an attempt to communicate bliss as it's unfolding. The poem, which is fairly long, concludes with this, which I think helps capture the feeling of it better than an intellectual explanation could. Vanish the grosser lights into eternal rays of all-pervading bliss. From joy I came, for joy I live, in sacred joy I melt. Ocean of mind, I drink all creation's waves. 4 veils of solid, liquid, vapor, light, lift aright. Myself, in everything, enters the great myself. Gone forever, fitful, flickering shadows of mortal memory. Spotless is my mental sky, below, ahead, and high above. Eternity and I, one united ray, a tiny bubble of laughter. I am become the sea of mirth itself.
So this is bliss. This is joy. So joy before 2012 was conditional. I get some high heels, I receive joy. I have a new car or a new house, I feel joy. This is the condition of joy. Since 2012, it is unconditional. It's a state of consciousness. You are joy. You are bliss. Now it's sometimes difficult to perceive it, so just a little thought. You should be in bliss, to be alive, to be able to experience life with its emotions. And there is no wrong emotion. In bliss, you will want to experience all emotions: sadness, grief, righteousness, courage, fear, stress, fright, gentleness, anger, kindness, impatience, cruelty, hate, love, respect, worry, fairness, openness, and even more. You can be in bliss experiencing sadness. Sadness is an emotion that you will experience in the now. Bliss is a state of consciousness. So this is extremely difficult to fully understand. Bliss and joy is a deep acceptance, stillness, and appreciation. Joy is the appreciation to be alive, appreciation to experience life. Joy, bliss is about the journey, not the outcome. It's unconditional. So now, joy has 7 levels of consciousness, several levels of understanding. The first one is there is no joy. So the state of consciousness, there is no joy. Someone is really low and cannot go lower. It's people who are often close to wanting to end their life. Number 2, joy happens to me. It's like a dew. You think that you are incarnating in this body and that joy should be everywhere. 3, joy happens by you. So in that state of consciousness, you are starting to understand that if you go out, it's an action, you will be able to get joy. So you understand the action. It's still a lower level because you understand that it's an action of the outcome, not of the journey. 4, joy happens in me. So it's the next level where you understand that actually nothing from outside will really make you joy. It's something from within. Then we move to 5th, joy happens for you. So it's where you believe that joy can be manifested. It's an action that you manifest within you. 6, joy happens through me. So in this one, it's more, you understand that you need to manifest, but it's something that will come from outside. It's from within, but from outside. And the 7th, the higher level of joy is, joy is me. I am joy. So, joy has 2 enemies: perfection and permanence. So perfection is an enemy because perfection is often lifeless. If you look at art, perfection can be reached with computer, but there is no life truly in an art of computer. It can be beautiful in the sense of perfection and a feeling of the color, but it's just a perception of beauty. It's not true beauty. When an artist paints, it's often vibrant, not automatically in color, but it's alive. This is beauty. Permanence, you are not taught permanence per se, but you are not taught anything else. So I'm still always shocked when someone in palliative care comes to me and says, you know, I'm dying. Me, I am dying. Like if they were the only one dying and that nobody else would die. It's just happening to them. They discover that they are not permanent. So the two friends of joy and bliss is imperfection and impermanence. The full acceptance of those two is joy. To understand that it's not the outcome, the end, it's the journey. So where do you start? Well, think about creating your life from peace and creativity to achieve beauty. I repeat. Think about creating your life from peace and creativity to achieve beauty. This is a thought form from integral yoga. As somehow beauty is linked to bliss. So there is no right, there is no wrong emotions. All of them are part of life. So the big problem that we had in our society is, after a while, someone started to not feel the joy. They went bigger and bigger and bigger. They couldn't feel this rush of hormone in their body, even if they were going bigger and big. So now it became normal that after 3 days, someone will tell you, oh, you are depressed just because you don't feel the joy. Or even worse, you are judging yourself. You think that, oh my God, I might be depressed because I'm in sadness or anger or any other negative emotion, and I'm not supposed to be. Probably the Hollywood movies didn't help to see what true life is about. And yes, sadness doesn't go miraculously away. It's an action that you maybe have to take in one of the now. You don't want to suppress, to make yourself believe that you are pure joy when you are not. Because joy is not an emotion anymore. So you should be in bliss, in joy, happy, accepting what life is about. It's about experiencing all those emotions. Of course, if you are depressed for a long time, maybe it's because you're not doing, or you don't have the tool to deal with whatever in the now came to you and you don't know how to deal with it. Remember, becoming lifelong explorer, you cut everything in little pieces, and it's not a problem but a challenge that you, with your board members, ego, intuition, soul form guidance, you can manage. But sometimes you have trouble to arrive to a neutral. Yes, you flush constantly your thought form so thin, filter around you, and you feel that you cannot achieve a balance. Not good, not bad, not high, not low. You have trouble to be really neutral. In this case, maybe there is another tool that you would need. That can be even like a medicine, alternative or chemical pills to make your brain secret balance your hormones, your emotions. And there is nothing wrong with that. You really need to see like everything for what it is. You need to go in neutral. Neutral is about flushing your thought forms, filters. And if you have trouble to do that, you need to look at why. Is there a specific emotion that has tendency to be stuck with you? Did you do all the work, or is it not done? If you didn't do the work, go back and do that now and use a tool to make you release that unfinished business. Is it that no, there is no unfinished business, but you still have that lingering emotion of sadness? Maybe you have trouble to release that thought form, or maybe you were there in loop for so long that your body cannot anymore balance itself, and then the help of the medical system is important. Maybe forever, or maybe for a while, until your body is capable of balancing itself. When that is done, you want to be in pure joy and bliss. As a consciousness level, you take a deep breath and you say, I am joy, I am bliss. And I'm going to go through my day, through that state of consciousness. So you will be joy and bliss, experiencing sadness, experiencing happiness, anger and kindness. And it's only by you contemplating and experiencing it that you will be able to experience and understand it. All the word I can give you will never be enough for you to fully, deeply get it. You have to go in the field of life, go in the game and experience. You have nothing to lose. With your thought form, constantly, when it pops up in your head, take a couple of seconds and say, is it from ego? Is it from intuition? Is it from thought form guidance? And if there is only one, and you think it's not maybe right, and that you should actually ask for more open the thought to all the other members to receive a true reality. And when you create a thought like, what do I need to eat tonight? What do I want to do tomorrow? How can I resolve that problem? You really bring the three members on the table. And then you, the soul, power, you take the decision. And the decision that you are going to take is the best that you can in the now. It doesn't mean that it will be the best forever, the best from a universal perspective. It's the best decision that you can take now. Accept it. Experience it. It doesn't mean that in a month from now, because you are not experiencing the outcome that you would like to see, you can bring back the three team members and review and change without blaming yourself that you didn't take the right decision at the first time. No, be in bliss. Blame is a state of consciousness. You don't want to stay in that state. You want to be in acceptance of the now. The next now will be different. You don't want to bring your emotion, your thought forms filters. You move on, you evolve. Any questions?
What happened in 2012?
So for those who were not with us in 2012, 2012 was like a galactic moment. So to try to explain it simply, so the galaxy, let's say it's a disk, but a really thick disk, and we as the Earth and our solar system are in constant movement within it and with it, and we are moving, spinning, but also we are going up and down. So when we are going down, we are calling that going down the darkness, and when we are moving up, we are moving into the light. It takes 25,000 years to do a full cycle up and down. In 2012, we just started to arrive to the beginning of that, the thickness at the level of the galactic center. The galactic center being that thick, where it's thicker, and in the middle you have the light that is actually the black hole, one of the black hole. So we started, so it's not like over one day we are going to go up in the light. No, we are starting from darkness to move into the light. The next big event will be in 2036. Will still be for a long, long time, not in the light, but going towards the light. So this is what happened in 2012, and why. So from darkness, we went up into the chakra system and consciousness. Any other questions?
So is there still a lot of people who are trying to feel joy by, doing more and getting bigger and buying more, and I mean, we have so much stuff in our lives, we're trying to fill everything so how do
we shift?
Yeah, how do you shift from
that need or that want to accumulate, to let go of that?
So because it's a state of consciousness and that it's new, it's really difficult because it's not like, oh, we have lots of example around us. You are the pioneer. You are the one, and not just you in this room. There is a lot of people, but it's a little percentage to start with who are getting the information because they thought that something was needed for them to evolve. And so it's why you are in that path. So you're in that path, so now you get the information. You will become living example. And it will take a long, long time. So first, for you, do not expect any change overnight. It will be probably 12 months working on it every day. And if you are skipping one day, it had one day at the end. So maybe it's not going to be 12 months. It will be 24 or 36 months before you have a good grasp and say, I am joy. And I am not my thought forms filters. And I can do all this easily by bringing all my 3 team members to take decisions towards evolution. Just for you, it will take a while. More and more people will be receiving teachings through someone or through even their dream or their feeling and knowing in the next 30 years, and slowly it will shift. But I might be wrong, but I don't think that the concept really truly will be anchored into humans being before probably 2200. It's just the beginning. So a lot of people are going to struggle. There will be lots of addictions. The new addictions is drugs. You have lots and lots of drugs because the dopamine was not effective anymore. Like you go to a mall, it doesn't excite you anymore. Whatever you buy, it's like it doesn't bring you that high. You need to look for a new high, so there is a lot of people addicted to new drugs. It's not the solution, but it's the best that they can do in the now. We should not judge them. They are a little bit lost and they don't, for some reason, receive the tools properly because if they were really having their 3 team member active and listening, the voice in their head, they would perceive the spiritual guidance saying, hey, it's not the right way to do. You should do this or that. But we kill the spirituality at the same time than religion. It's where we are going. And so there is people are a little bit lost to find again their new ground. So it will happen. It's just going to take a while. And you can become like a living example.
What were the names of the 4 sides of the table again?
So the ego on the left.
Yeah.
In the front we have the intuition. Intuition, the body.
Can you spell that?
Intuition?
Intuition. Okay, I didn't hear that right.
And on the right we have the thought form guidance. And the last one is you. That is the soul.
So what is the technique to listen to not listen to the ego, but to listen to thought form guidance?
So the first technique is just like, I would say like sticky notes to remember to just contemplate on your thoughts. You have a thought, contemplate on it and say, okay, where is it coming from? Trust me, as soon as you will start to do that little exercise, you will be able to decipher. Ego relates to the past. So you will be able to say, oh, that thought, I can relate it to something that is happened in the past. The intuition, oh, I can relate because I can feel it into the body. It's my body intelligence talking. The guidance, you will slowly understand to recognize it by it's outside you. It didn't come from you. It didn't come from your body or your intuition or your ego. It's coming from another source that you cannot explain, like as a knowing. It can come as a voice, as a knowing. It can come also as clues outside you. Thought form guidance is not only thoughts in your head. It can manifest in the physical as clues like numbers or what people are going to say that will be, you will feel that it's like important for you. There is a message for you. And you cannot explain why, because there will be 3 people on the table and you're only the one thinking this way. It's thought form guidance. Now there is one piece. I told you at the beginning that there was 3 plus 1. The plus 1 are energies outside yourself that want to influence you. Society being one. Maybe your friends, your spouse, your boss. They are expecting you to have a specific ideology on things. And they will make you feel guilty, or they will use a lot of different tools to try to make you think like they think. So when you encounter that type of energy, you really easily let go. It doesn't belong to you. How do you recognize? If you have to ask the question to yourself, is it mine? It probably is not yours. When it's the ego from the past and in yourself, the intuition or guidance, there is a quality to it that you will be able to recognize. Now, not everybody is permeable to the energy form from outside that are trying to influence them. But a percentage of the population have tendency to be really absorbing that. So if you are part of this, you want to flush constantly. Find tools to flush your thought forms to make sure that you are not looping into thought forms of someone else. And if you don't know how to do the 3 settling down the chi, just go outside, walk, breathe. It's already a first step to just clear your mind. By clearing your mind, you are slowly interrupting the loop of the thought form, of the feeling, the thought form.
So get away. Like,
Yeah.
remove yourself.
Any other questions?
Would you say that the past doesn't exist?
The past does exist. The past is important as past experiences that can give you some wisdom to maybe not repeat the same mistake or even the same path. Even sometimes it's not mistake, but you are here to experience new things, not to experience the same thing over and over. So good or bad, it's the past. It's a really important information that you need to decide how much you want to add in the equation of the now. The past is the past. It's an important piece of who you are on this life here and now as a human being on earth where we have time. Now, if you are looking at a higher level of consciousness, does time exist or not? This is a totally different topic. For us now, there is time. You arrived, it was in the past, you are here now with me, and you are going to live in the future. We have somehow a linear vision and perspective of our life, and it's what is, so you want to play with it, and there is nothing wrong with it.
Would you say that the ego is always coming from a place of fear?
No. The ego is always coming from a place of protection.
Of its identity.
So, I don't like the word fear. The protection is the better word. Because if we didn't have that ego protecting us, you would experience things that could kill you, and if it kills you, you are not able to experience new. You are here to experience an array of emotion and experiences. So we needed like a software to protect us. It's exactly like your computer. Your computer, you can really quickly, a virus can stop the computer and you to have an experience on the web. The antivirus is not a bad thing. It protects you. Sometimes there is too much fear and it's too high and it blocks you to perceive some information from the web. So you need to learn how to play with it, and to play with that, it's to be the one who decide that you are going to have a panel of 3 and not just the ego. You want to listen the ego, but it doesn't mean that it's right. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. But everybody have their voice. You want to listen everything. But until now, like society told us, our intuition doesn't exist. Our dreams have no information in them. And we need to shift that, and it's not going to be overnight. Even you, I'm sure, it's years of meditation, and you don't automatically believe all the time in your intuition. You don't automatically believe that your dreams every night have messages for you. And still, they do.
So eventually, if you just tuned into your thought guidance, do you actually need protection anymore?
Yes, because the thought guidance is not always good. The thought guidance doesn't incarnate in the body. It's from higher. Sometimes you are not ready to do what it would not be healthy for you to listen or to do. It's healthy for you to listen. It's not healthy for you to follow always the highest guidance. It means that at that moment, also what you are receiving is going to be filed into the ego. The librarian will have like a record of what the higher guidance said. And so maybe 6 months later, you will say, oh, now I'm ready. But everything needs to be in place. And so you want to listen, but you need to do what's right. So now, often what's happening is that, okay, so you didn't listen to guidance, and 6 months later, you blame yourself to not have listened to guidance. Well, you should not, because 3 months earlier, you did what you thought was the best. So it's fine. Now that you understood that maybe in that new now, it was not automatically the best for the new now, just be honest. Don't be shy. Change. Accept the guidance and change your now because you are ready. A lot of people are stuck in the past because they think, I took that decision, it was the right decision, even if I know that it was the wrong decision, and I have too much pride to change my ideology on any subject. So I have to keep my head up and continue on the wrong path. No, it was the right path, even if it's the wrong path for the future, it was the right path at that moment. But you can always receive guidance, but the guidance will serve you at some point. That's it. So remember, you have a couple of homework. Homework 1 is about bringing the panel together when you have the thought forms that you have one or that you are creating one. And the second one, the second homework, is about deciding that you enter the state of consciousness of joy and bliss. You are joy, and you can experience on joy a negative emotion because it's an experience. The journey is important. I'm pretty sure that most of you would not want to remove your negative experience of the past. They were experiences, they were difficult at that time, but it's what made you who you are today. So it was positive. So if you tell yourself that now, that yes, you are going to have other difficult experiences, good experiences, but all of them, you want to experience them through the bliss and joy because you can.
So you want to experience them and let them go, not hang on to them.
You don't hang them on.
Well, I think very early on with meditation classes, it was to get the message, but let go of the emotion.
Let go the emotion, yes.
Learn the lesson.
Yes.
Mhm.
Release and recharge.
Right.
So blissfully, just continue your experiences.